viewed several key developments within the last 48 hours of Syria-Turkey war. In my previous video, I discussed the key developments within the first 72 hours of this war. In this video, I'll discuss the last 48 hours. Well, the discussion, my point of view, information, it will be based on impartial and neutral facts without any bias, any prejudice towards anyone. Well, the first 72 hours, as I discussed earlier in my previous video, they saw the rule of Turkish air forces and Syrian ground forces. We saw Turkish drones, that they played havoc with Syrian military equipment on ground, and we saw that Syrian military offensive in Sarakib, they captured this strategically very important town. But what about the last 48 hours? What happened during the last 48 hours? Well, the tables have been reversed in the air. Turkish drones, they have been downed continuously. According to Syrian official sources, they have shot down around 10 Turkish drones so far. This figure 10, it might be a little exaggerated, but several Turkish drones, they have been shot down by Syrian missile defense system, which is Russian. And the Syrian fighter jets, within the last 48 hours, no Syrian fighter jet has been shot down by any Turkish fighter jet so far. During the first 72 hours, we saw that 2 or 3 Syrian fighter jets, they were downed by Turkish fighter jets. But last 48 hours saw no downing of any Syrian fighter jets by Turkey. Instead, we saw downing of several drones of Turkey. So this is a very changed situation. Why it has happened? What is the reason behind that? Well, firstly, when Turkish drones were inflicting losses upon Syrian military equipment and Syrian fighter jets, they were being shot down by Turkey, a narrative was being built that Russia-made military equipment is very, very poor. Because Syrians, they are mostly using Russian missile defense systems, Russian fighter jets. So when these things were not working, a narrative was being built that Russia, whosoever is buying something from Russia, it is wasting money. Their missile defense systems, their fighter jets, they are just crap. Then the tables turned. Suddenly Russians, they intervened and they took control of electronic warfare in the surroundings of Idlib. And we have heard that there have been jamming of GPS and other types of signals. And Turkish drones, they were not only shot by Russian missile defense systems, but their signals were also jammed. So the link between the operator of the drone and the drone, it was cut off, and these drones, they just collapsed, they just crashed on ground. So Russians, they just proved that what they make, it is yet very modern, and it can compete any other equipment in the world. So we saw in the air, Turkey had to face some losses. What about on ground? Well, on ground, Sarakib was under the control of Syrian government forces, which they took during the first 72 hours. An offensive was launched, backed by Turkey. This offensive was launched by Turkey-backed rebels, HTS, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, and New Liberation Front. These two forces and some others, they launched an offensive to retake Sarakib from Syrian government forces. But Syrian government forces, along with Hezbollah fighters, they fought, and this attempt by Turkish-backed rebels to capture Sarakib, it has been thwarted, it has been foiled. So on ground here in Sarakib, Syrian government forces, they are still there in Sarakib. Then on the west of Aleppo, a town, Sheikh Akil, it was also attacked by Turkish-backed rebels. But here too, a long battle around, battle continued for almost 10 hours. But this attack has also been foiled. So both these attacks, they have been foiled. On ground, Syrian government forces, they have managed to hold their ground. So we can safely say that the last 48 hours, they saw the Syrian government forces performing much better. And it is due to the fact that Iranians and Russians, they are now openly supporting Syrian government forces. Russians who had grounded their planes when Turkish soldiers were killed, 30 plus. Now during the last 48 hours, they have been very active. They have been carrying out bombings in the vicinity of Idlib, and they are now out to help Syrian government forces. So the tables have been reversed a little. Syrian government forces, they are on the ground, they are holding their ground, and in the air now they are hurting Turkey certainly. And that is the reason perhaps that we saw a brawl in the Turkish parliament between government and opposition MPs, some fist fight there as well, and the obvious reason behind this brawl was the criticism against President Tayyip Erdogan's Syria policy. So there is a little frustration on the Turkish side. Now, secondly, we are seeing that Russia is building up its troops in Syria. It has been heard that 5 warships of Russia, they pass through Bosphorus, from Russia through Bosphorus to Syria. Bosphorus is controlled by Turkey, and Russia, it is using this route from Russia to Bosphorus to Syria. Now we have seen 5 warships carrying some big number of Russian troops, military equipment, tanks, armored vehicle, etc. They managed to cross the Bosphorus Strait, and they reached their base in Latakia province. So Russians, they seem to be building up their enforcements in Syria. They are preparing for a long battle here. Then there was also this rumor that Turkey might close down Bosphorus, and this is the route that is being used by Russia, because if they use the other route to get to Syria, that other route is a longer route. That is where they are trying to bring in as much soldiers, as much equipment as they can. Then some flight schedules, they also suggest that the number of cargo and transport planes which flew from Russia to Syria, it has also increased. So there is definitely this possibility that Russia is building up its enforcements in Syria. This is the second development during the last 48 hours. Thirdly, Putin-Erdogan meeting, which is going on in Moscow, and right now when I'm recording this video, this meeting is in progress. Well, all the offensive on ground and in the air, it was linked with this meeting. Both the sides, Turkey and Russians, they were trying to get as much stronger on ground as possible before the start of this meeting. So each side wanted to go into these negotiations strong. That is why that Syrian government forces, they were trying to retain their control on Syraki, and they were also launching offensives in other parts adjoining Syraki. On the other hand, Turkey-backed rebels, they were trying to regain this important town, Syraki. So it was a way of gaining something on ground which will make them stronger on negotiating table in the meeting between Erdogan and Putin. Then we also saw some strict sort of statements by Russian officials. They blamed Turkey openly. They blamed Turkey for, they said that Turkey has built up a mechanized division of troops in Idlib, which is a violation of international law. A division has more than 10,000 soldiers, remind you. So they were just accusing Turkey of amassing a good number of soldiers in Idlib as if to start a fight here. Secondly, they also said that the terrorists in Idlib, they are being harbored by Turkey's observation posts. They have linkages with them. So it was a way of pressurizing Turkey before this meeting. This meeting is happening now. What will be the result of this meeting? It remains to be seen. In the next video, I'll discuss about this meeting and how things play out after this meeting. Thanks for watching.